In Ottumwa, tune to translator channel 74 for better reception of TV8.
Good morning, I'm Charles Kuralt, and this is Sunday morning, the first Sunday morning of 1987. Our New Year's story is about a resolution made 20 years ago by a small group of people who banded together to work for the full equality of women in America. They call themselves the National Organization for Women, or NOW. A lot has changed since then. Some things haven't changed as much as they might have. As the National Organization for Women turns 20, David Culhane will look at now.
When the National Organization for Women lost its battle for the Equal Rights Amendment, internal power struggles and a heavy loss in membership followed. Its treasury was depleted. But as the National Organization for Women celebrates its 20th birthday, we will see that it is reviving here in Raleigh, North Carolina, and in other states, and that the women's movement is alive and well in America.
Country singer Kenny Rogers is used to having his picture taken and to having thousands of eyes trained on him. Ron Powers has a story about Kenny Rogers and his camera, looking back at America. Renee Ferguson will tell you about a gathering of winners.
Everyone look right up at me.
This is the class of '86. Its graduates have gathered to celebrate life, to celebrate in spite of having come close to death. Later on Sunday morning, we'll go to a reunion of cancer survivors, and we'll talk with some of the alumni who gathered to share the experience of life after cancer.
Faith Daniels has a story about a doctor of medicine who is also a doctor of music. Ray Brady will drop by later. I'll try to wrest from him an economic forecast for 1987. We will see some delicate works of art made by people we had assumed to be brutish, our ancestors of the Ice Age. And we'll review the news of a more recent time, last week. Here are the headlines for Sunday morning, January 4th, 1987. The police in San Juan, Puerto Rico say they received a warning that the DuPont Plaza would be bombed 2 hours before the fire that killed 95 people on New Year's Eve, but that the threat was discounted when hotel officials assured the police that everything was fine. Investigators sifting through the wreckage of the hotel still have found no evidence of a bomb. Cardinal John J. O'Connor of New York, who ran afoul of Vatican rules governing official visits to Israel, is meeting in Jerusalem today with President Herzog and Foreign Minister Paris. After all, the Vatican, which has no formal ties with Israel, forbids visits to Israeli officials in their offices, so O'Connor's meeting them in their homes. President Reagan enters Bethesda Naval Hospital this morning for prostate surgery and a routine cancer checkup. Yesterday, the president discussed the White House budget proposal on his weekly radio program. The budget will be presented to Congress tomorrow.
This is Hawaii, paradise found. Aloha, I'm Ed Hogan, owner of Pleasant Hawaiian Holidays, where we make paradise affordable. This is Pleasant's low price for a full week in Waikiki. It includes airfare and hotel, and all the paradise you can handle. Stop dreaming and start packing. Pleasant Hawaiian Holidays makes paradise affordable.
This week on Midday, actor Jonathan Silverman, Neil Simon's alter ego from Brighton Beach Memoirs. Marshall Jackson talks about the road to success as the only black female country music singer. It's Buckle Up or Pay Up. We'll have an update on the new seatbelt law. January Thaw is the title of classes designed for adult spiritual growth. We'll tell you about them and about Harvest Acres, a program for troubled teens. We'll meet the new director of the YMCA and talk with actor Jeff Bridges. He's the dubious hero of the new mystery thriller, The Morning After.
Smoking ain't hip, in fact it's a drag. Sucking it in's just not my bag. Smoky clothes I can do without. Whatever you're into, smoking's out. Flicking off ashes, looking like a fool. Everybody knows that smoking ain't cool, no, no, no. Look around, there's no doubt, whatever you're into, smoking's out.
TVA News takes you there as hundreds of people fill St. Anthony's Church to mourn the loss of Mayor Pete Crivero. To sunny San Diego, where Heidi Soliday reports on Holiday Bowl activities and the Hawkeyes' field goal at the gun. And to Dallas County, where Dana Carden finds a man who plays Mother Goose to 200 geese. Be a part of it all. News Alive on TV8.
Catch the news on Live TV8. Be a part of it all.
The bells and prayers and celebrations of New Year's Eve were muted by a calamity. A terrible fire of suspicious origin swept through a luxury hotel in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Holiday vacationers and hotel employees were trapped inside the DuPont Plaza as smoke and fire rose from the ground floor where several explosions were heard. Helicopters plucked survivors from the hotel roof and ferried them to the beach for emergency medical treatment. More than 100 people were injured. At least 95 people died. The search for bodies, many of them burned beyond recognition, continued through the week. The governor of Puerto Rico said the fire may have been deliberately set.
In the casino, the word was passed out minutes before the event that certain people there should leave because something was going to happen.
Some tourists had been warned that the DuPont Plaza was in the midst of a labor dispute that would end in violence.
He very simply said, stay away from the place. There's going to be a strike and a bombing. So don't go there.
The DuPont Plaza had no sprinkler system. Guests said they heard no fire alarms or other warnings. A rare alignment of the sun, moon, and earth, called syzygy, which causes abnormally high tides, combined with a bitter winter storm to inundate the eastern seaboard from North Carolina to Maine. The United States trade imbalance in November was $19.2 billion, the worst ever. The government says the trade deficit for the full year will set a record too.
It's an extraordinary deficit and clearly unexpected, and in that sense, almost shocking.
I personally do not believe that I was exchanged just for arms. I just don't believe it.
There were reports that an Iranian official arranged to swap an American hostage for 500 missiles, and that Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North had personally negotiated the deal. President Reagan returned to Washington from his California vacation. He enters Bethesda Naval Hospital this morning for prostate surgery. Earlier in the week, the president took time off from his vacation to honor the flyers of the Voyager.
And then when we saw you coming back home, so ungainly yet so graceful, flying into the desert landing strip at Edwards Air Force Base, well, that was just about the best Christmas present America could have had.
The families of 4 of the 7 astronauts who were killed in the explosion of the Space Shuttle Challenger reached financial settlements with the government. Settlements for the families of Judith Resnick, Michael Smith, and Ronald McNair still are pending.
Good evening, and Snovim Godem. This is Ronald Reagan, President of the United States.
President Reagan sent a radio message to the Soviet Union on Voice of America after Mikhail Gorbachev refused his request for an exchange of televised greetings. The broadcast was jammed in the Soviet Union, but parts of it were rebroadcast by Soviet radio. In Beijing, students began the new year with demonstrations calling for freedom and democracy in China. And around the world, people celebrated the end of an old year and the beginning of a new one.
This portion of Sunday Morning is sponsored by General Electric. At GE, we bring good things to life.
GE, we stay as new as you do. GE, so you can live the way you want to. We know the way you love to live. We're GE, and this is what we give. We give you time to give the children time to let them see the light. It lights their life, the light that sees you through. Songs to teach them they belong. You're there to make them strong. This is the life for you. Time to watch them when they try, to be there when they cry, to find the answer when they ask you why. Smile, we stay as new as you. We'll always be GE. We bring good things to life.
At Physicians Mutual, we say we're here when you need us, and we back it up with a terrific support system. Like our toll-free phone so our people can expedite your benefit payments. Our computerized claim service pays out over $10 million a month for benefits. And we're developing new plans for people's ever-changing needs for first-class insurance protection. We're Physicians Mutual, and we'll be here when you need us. That's a promise.
We're here when you need us, Physicians Mutual.
Judge Jackson, you've got dirty dentures.
Objection. I just soak them.
Soaking's not enough. That's why your dentures are dirtier than they should be. Brushing with Denture Cream cleans denture film much better. Look, when tested against Efferdent, Denture Cream denture toothpaste gets dentures much cleaner.
Nearly twice as clean.
So don't get caught with dirty dentures. Brush them clean with minty-tasting Denture Cream or mouthwash fresh Denture Gel.
Case closed.
Now. Remember all those stories we used to hear about the first woman firefighter, the first woman power pole climber, the first woman astronaut? Have you noticed we don't hear those stories anymore? Everybody's used to women doing whatever they wish for a living. The country accepts that they can do men's jobs at least as well as men. And young women are coming along who don't even know anybody ever doubted it. The lives and expectations of American women have changed profoundly in the 20 years since the National Organization for Women began. David Culhane looks at now.
Oh, look at Uncle Jerry back there.
Oh, my goodness.
Terry Sanford.
Good job. We can do this department.
They are members of the National Organization for Women.
Oh, Jane Wells Schooley.
This is the chapter in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Come on now. We don't say that.
They're getting a good laugh out of their old scrapbooks. The headlines they made. The stir they created.
Free choice! Now!
Here in Raleigh, and in every state, people are celebrating the 20th anniversary of Now.
We know that we cannot turn back. And we know that our nation cannot turn back on progress for women.
It was Now that launched the modern women's movement and led the way.
Our eyes have seen the future and rejoice in what's to be. Every woman in position to achieve felicity. We will vote ourselves in power with our own majority. For the time for now is now.
I think women's lives have changed for the better over the past 20 years more than they have in the history of this country.
Robin Davis is the president of Now in North Carolina.
You couldn't get credit. You picked up the newspaper and there was help wanted male and help wanted female ads. You had to wear a girdle everywhere you went your entire life from the time you were 13 years old. The unwritten rules and restrictions that governed your life were tremendous, and I think the women's movement is responsible for getting rid of countless little pettiness that perhaps men don't even realize.
These women are also thinking about their losses. especially the defeat in the battle for an equal rights amendment to the United States Constitution.
ERA! Hey, hey! What do you say? Ratify the ERA!
North Carolina was one of the last 3 states that decided the fate of the Equal Rights Amendment in 1982. The final tense vote took place here in the State House in Raleigh.
Mr. President, Senator Rouse, I move that Senate Bill 803 to lie upon the table.
27 having voted in the affirmative, 23 in the negative, Senate Bill 803 does lie upon the table.
The amendment failed when it was defeated in Florida, Illinois, and North Carolina. Many women opposed the amendment. The members of N.O.W. in Raleigh were devastated.
It was dark for me because I put my heart and soul into my first thing, since I was my really first big effort.
Fern Winborn dropped out of N.O.W. after that 1982 defeat. So did a lot of other women. National membership fell from 250,000 to 150,000.
And I did drop out also. But then I felt like, I looked back at the suffrage movement and any kind of movement and realized, well, of course, they just don't happen overnight.
It took 72 years for the women's movement to get full voting rights in America. It was 1920. And in World War II, millions of women found out that they really could do a man's work.
All the day long, whether rain or shine, she's a part of the assembly line.
And beginning in 1966, women rose up to demand rights across the board. The National Organization for Women was founded.
But we will unleash these energies in the direction of peace and life, and we will make it possible in this world for men and women to make love, not war.
For 20 years, it was the National Organization for Women that defined the issues, fought the battles in courthouse and state house. It was N.O.W. that struck the spark. And then over the years, a whole new social atmosphere was created. Women and men changed the way they handle the most ordinary tasks of daily life. Women growing up today take it for granted that everything is open to them.
Now put us in the headlines. And it has really been N.O.W. that has been at the forefront of pulling in other women, men.
Ann Shipley is not a member of N.O.W. She's active in the women's movement in North Carolina through the American Association of University Women. But she says all women owe a debt of gratitude to N.O.W.
It did a lot of the barrier busting. And if that hadn't been done, we would not be as far along as we are.
Ann Shipley was a leader in the fight for ERA in North Carolina.
ERA won't go away! ERA won't go away!
In spite of the ERA setback, she thinks that the women's movement is in good shape, that you cannot gauge the health of that movement in terms of the ERA or the current membership of N.O.W.
Is that it's extremely healthy. It's healthier than it's ever been because it is mature. It's a great deal more mature than it was 10 years ago. It has mushrooms. It has sausage. Each year that's
Ann Shipley has a full-time job these days, and she's still active in the women's rights movement. And her family thinks that's just fine.
I don't mind taking over a lot of the household work. Now, I don't fix fancy meals, but I can feed us. Now,
Tom Chipley is a design engineer and emphatically a feminist. He shares the housework with his wife.
and the fellows will look at me and say in all seriousness, well, gosh, I really wish I could do something like that, meaning take part in what was happening and not just play the traditional role of sitting at home with the paper and your feet propped up while your wife does all the cooking. They genuinely they feel almost guilty of doing that.
Kate Chipley says her college friends think the battle for women's rights is all over.
The girls, the friends of mine that I've talked to are not involved in it. They don't take it seriously. All my friends also are all planning very advanced careers.
Diana Kirby has just such an advanced career. She supervises 14 people at the SAS Institute, a computer software company near Raleigh. She's living the kind of life right now that many feminists see as a vision of the future.
The rewards of a position of power. I mean, I have responsibility, I have influence, there are financial rewards. That's nice.
Diana married David Kirby, who also works with computers.
My job is about as close to hers in a different institution as you could get.
Diana Kirby was a member of N.O.W.
What she's doing, and she understands a lot about what I'm doing.
The reason I joined is that I felt that it was important that there not be barriers to my advancement other than my own limitations. And that's why I joined. But then I had a kid, and I took a job that was demanding. It was a good career move. It was demanding. The family was demanding. Everything was demanding, and I had to let something go. So
Diana dropped out of N.O.W.
Build a tower right here.
Diana found that her employer would provide free on-site daycare and a nursery school for Elizabeth from the time she was 6 weeks old until she is 4.
in my own life, there's not that much to be gained. I don't feel that I have barriers in front of me based on my sex, but maybe I'm maybe I walk in unusual circles. I'm at a company that apparently is unusual.
Diana Kirby does walk in unusual circles.
Are you ready to go to lunch?
Many women in America are still struggling to get the balance that she has achieved.
For each wife, for its liberation time.
20 years ago, they started singing the theme of liberation. A happy few members of the National Organization for Women mobilized millions through those years.
It's liberation time. Oh, glory, hallelujah.
No problem. Maybe more.
Today, once again, they are few in number around the country.
All in favor?
Aye.
They are sensitive to charges that they have not concerned themselves enough with the problems of the poor.
Well, we're just going to have to do some kind of fundraiser.
You've got them.
As N.O.W. begins its 21st year, they are setting a new agenda, including strong programs for poor women and working mothers.
We might be able to put it in some lady's hands tomorrow so she could shop over the weekend.
Okay, that would be nice.
Once again, they are trying to mobilize millions.
It recognizes the right to choose abortion as a woman's right. It was never stated that way in Roe versus Wade. And it makes it clear, and for that reason it was a landmark decision because it stated it as our right to choose.
We shall be overcome someday.
This portion of Sunday Morning is sponsored by delicious Citrus Hills Select Orange Juice. It gets your juices flowing.
If the only juice you've had started out with mom and dad, then you're really missing out on what Citrus Hill's about. And your day gets going and your juices get flowing. Citrus Hills Select will open your eyes. It's that tingle on the lip, it's that dazzle
morning, decaffeinated drinkers.
The day's looking new and bright.
It is.
And you're gonna start it right.
I am.
'Cause there's Folgers for you that's decaffeinated too. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
Decaffeinated? And I'm waking up?
Mountain-grown Folgers decaffeinated brightens your morning like nothing else because mountain-grown coffee has more enticing aroma and flavor than any other kind.
With Folgers so rich and good, the day starts like it should.
Day's looking better already.
The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
Decaffeinated.
It's a question of taste. If you had your pick of two cereals, both with 100% nutrition, would you pick the one with just one kind of flake? Or Kellogg's Just Right with 3 different kinds of flakes, plus hearty rolled oats, plump raisins, sweet juicy dates, and crisp crunchy nuts? You're not alone. 3 out of 4 people picked Just Right over every other high vitamin cereal. There was no question of nutrition. It was simply a question of taste. Kellogg's Just Right with fruit or whole grain.
Tonight, a bizarre murder.
It's Nate, all right, or what's left of him.
Oh, how awful.
Fritz Weaver, Hope Lang, and Doug McClure guest star.
Murder!
She wrote. Then, no one ever said no to Frances.
Don't come home unless you do it.
Especially not her children.
Don't make me do this.
Not even when it came to murder.
His mother told him his grandfather had to be killed.
It's a perfect plan.
Stephanie Powers at Mother's Request tonight.
This is CBS. Today's computerized workplace is like a music hall before a concert. Each workstation merely a solo instrument until the conductor brings them into harmony. Introducing DFM, conductors for office orchestration through networking, IBM and N.O.W. business systems. DFM, networking for efficiency and harmony. DFM. Turning solos into symphonies.
It all happens every week on You Write the Songs, where we are definitely footloose. This week, a salute to hit songwriter Dean Pitchford with his friends Kenny Loggins and Melissa Manchester. The new song singers Monica Page and Tony Franklin. Cat Adams and Kip Lennon perform the best new songs in competition on their way to the $100,000 grand prize. Hear the hits of tomorrow this week on You Write the Songs.
This is KCCI, TV8 in Des Moines.
It's Sunday morning on CBS, and here again is Charles Kuralt.
Americans spend a lot of time looking at celebrities, and country singer Kenny Rogers gets looked at as much as any other. So it's interesting to discover that for many years on concert tours and between concert tours, Kenny Rogers has found time for looking back at America through the lens of his camera. Ron Powers has our story.
I can't tell you why I love her. I don't even know myself. All I know is she gives me feelings I can't get from anyone else. She told me that
I need immediate gratification. I'm used to walking out on the stage and hearing applause and knowing that I'm doing something right or I'm not so right and I have to adjust.
she's still a mystery to me. Oh, but she...
With photography, I go out and I shoot it. I immediately go home and develop my negatives. Even on the road, we developed in bathrooms. We developed on a bus one time, just as because I needed that immediate gratification. And once I knew the negative was okay, then I knew the print would be fine. It's one of the few things that I found that really affords me that moment of privacy. I get in my car with Rob Pincus, who was my assistant on all of this, and we go out and we would drive sometimes from city to city and just see what there was to see. And it's the first time in 20 years of traveling that I really felt like I got a chance to see this country.
Oh, now can see every dream.
Most people know how Kenny Rogers has earned his fortune, singing ballads that are like musical photographs of everyday American life.
What they sing.
But not many pop fans would guess what Rogers does in his spare time. He makes photographs that are like visual ballads to what is large and beautiful in America.
This love go on forever.
Tell me what drew you to photography.
I think it's a creative outlet that allows me another form of expression. I don't honestly think I can make enough money in it to justify giving up my music, but I think that it's something that I get a tremendous amount of pleasure out of.
What format do you use, Kenny?
This is all 4x5.
Okay. Oh, it is? Yeah. Kenny Rogers began to turn from a shutterbug to a serious student of photography 2 years ago.
I printed the original on these, and then Bernie Boudreaux.
His wife, Mary Ann, arranged for him to spend several weeks of private instruction with John Sexton, who had been an assistant to the great photographer Ansel Adams.
He taught me the use of the camera, first of all, and how to use large format cameras, and how to develop film in such a way that you can control the zones in it.
There's a wonderful story about Ansel Adams. He talks about that famous photograph of the moonrise over Hernandez, New Mexico in 1941. He says, we were sailing southward along the highway when I glanced to the left and saw an extraordinary situation, an inevitable photograph. He said he almost ditched his car and rushed to get his big lens, and he was yelling for his friends to bring up his things from the car as he set up his lens. Have you ever had that experience?
Absolutely. And it's funny because when you're dealing with light, particularly the best time of day to shoot is in the late afternoon, right as the sun is going down, and actually sometimes after the sun has just gone down. And my recollection of that story is that he shot one frame, and before he could reload this frame, that the sun was gone. I mean, the effect was gone. The light on the crosses were gone.
Many of Rogers' landscape photographs make it clear that he has mastered the principles of the Ansel Adams School.
Yeah, I'm impressed with the reaction, you know, because
wonderful reaction.
I don't know whether you know what all we've been doing promotion-wise, but I mean, there's a lot going on.
Some examples of the collection were on display not long ago at the Whitkin Gallery in New York City, a long way from this pop singer's normal habitat and from his roots in working-class Houston, Texas.
Telling people who try to walk in front of the camera, he'd say, don't walk in front of me. These guys are taking me to Hollywood. They're going to make me a star. You know, he was great, but he was very articulate. They say that poor photographers want to shoot wealth because it's their way of experiencing it. And wealthy photographers want to shoot poverty because it's their way of understanding it. And in my case, I came from poverty, and I have since then done very well. So for me, I think when I go back, I don't go back from a standpoint of curiosity as much as it's really reflective to me. The houses, the shacks that I took, I have family. My grandfather lived in houses very much like those houses. I remember being in that big wash tub in the back and being the third one taking a bath in this wash tub in this cold water now in the winter. So I don't take it out of curiosity. I take it out of my own personal memories.
This family snapshot, photographer unknown, shows Kenny Rogers at about age 12, during the lean years. There's never been that desire to go back and confront that less than happy side of America, that darker side that shows up in the farm crisis. And
I'm so, you know, because my privacy is constantly being invaded, I'm so careful not to show people in a light that they don't want to be seen in. You know, in the Bowery, when we shot the pictures of the guys in the Bowery, We went over and had long conversations with these guys, told them what we were going to do. One guy wanted to button his shirt and slicked his hair back a little bit. And the guy whose name was Mike that lived in the box, it was important to him to have his shoes on. Well, that's a dignity that the man deserves. I don't like to steal snapshots from people when they're in moments of weakness. These were designed to not be stolen shots, but portraits of these people. Just for the fun of it, Bernie, scoot that in. Let me see it with those paint drops on it. Just keep moving in until you're in the frame now. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. You're out.
But landscapes and common people aren't the only images in Kenny Rogers' America. In his Los Angeles studio, he's begun work on a new collection, photographs of celebrity friends, such as the actor Dudley Moore.
Originally, I had a piano in here, and it just felt awfully stiff to me. I'd love to get you to come in here somehow, but I don't want you, what I really don't want to do is stifle you. I want you to feel like you can do some things. If this is too heavy, they could go out. We've got this goose over here that you would do.
I feel
a little too
somewhat I feel a little too important with this stuff. With a goose, I feel I'm on the same level.
Right. Okay, let's throw this back light. Give me a side light from back here.
Are you going to light me before I get into my schmutter?
Well, this way we can determine what it is we're doing.
Yes, you tell me. I'm your slave at this moment.
I like that.
Oh! Now, does it matter which way the...
Well, only that I'd like to see this.
Yeah.
That's why I was turning him a little this way.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And you might, Ken, if you let me hold this. What if you put your hand back, kind of, so that you get...
You naughty boy. It's going forward now. I see you can't actually relax on this
$12,000 goose.
$12,000, my God. I mean, I can do that. Is that all right? You mean?
No, it's okay. I think you should get comfortable.
Feels mildly effete.
I knew we'd stumble into something brilliant here if we tried long enough. Tell me the funniest joke you've ever done.
Tell you the funniest joke I've ever done?
That's okay. I don't need it.
You know, Kenny, I'm beginning to get peculiar vibes from you, babe.
I like that big laugh.
But she has faith in me, and so I'll go.
Like my music, I think I seek out things that make me feel good or that touch me in some way or another.
Maybe on some special night.
There is a real place in my life for this. It's as close as I can come to commuting with nature. So for me to get out early and watch the waterfalls come down, it brings me tremendous pleasure.
She lays while she waits for...
Balance. It is stability based on planned diversity. Rockwell International's continuous growth results from a balance of businesses. Outstanding performance in electronics, aerospace, automotive, industrial automation, and general industries. Rockwell International, down-to-earth management and opportunities as limitless as space.
You Americans have all the luck. When I want the great chicken dishes of the world, I have to use my British passport. Your passport, however, is Tyson chicken entrees. Delicious international meals like Tyson chicken français. Incredibly sumptuous. And fortunately, Tyson prepares chicken in so many delicious ways. Tyson is the only passport you need for a world of great tastes. Waiter! No hurry.
An investment firm is only as impressive as it is responsive.
Let's go.
So when interest rates fell, we looked for new ways for our clients to make money and developed unique opportunities like the Prudential Real Estate Investment Trust, a first of its kind in a way to take advantage of changing markets. While others may imitate it, we're busy surpassing it.
If anyone can show you bold new thinking in the business of making money, let's close it. It's Prudential Beige, rock solid, market-wise.
You're about to see surgery performed without anesthesia, without sutures, even without a scalpel. This is the CT scanner by GE, a remarkable machine that lets doctors explore the human body without a single incision, showing clearly intricate details of the human anatomy, which until now could only be seen through conventional surgery.
That's it? That's it. I'm okay.
Oh, great. GE, we bring good things to life.
The word most dreaded in the country probably is cancer. More than 5 million Americans have cancer. Half of those are expected to die within 5 years. Cancer is a group of baffling, terrible diseases. The story Renee Ferguson has to tell, however, is not about dying. It's about living. A Gathering of Winners is about people who faced the toughest battle of all and won.
How about the first grade class? Is it everybody in the first grade also?
I don't know.
Helen Berman is a wife and a mother and a cancer survivor.
Oh, I see. Okay.
She's been battling breast cancer for the past 4 years. John DeVos is an artist and a decorator and a cancer survivor. He was given 6 months to 2 years to live. That was 5 years ago.
Sign here. Like, you know what to do? The father side. People come over to the front here. You stay here. Everyone stay here. Come on in.
Come on already.
These are the winners, the ones who beat cancer. On this day, they gathered to celebrate in a reunion of cancer survivors held at the Fox Chase Cancer Center in Philadelphia.
Yeah. And my doc said something really funny to me. He says, well, I think you're going to live. And I said, well, I think I'm going to die. And he said, you know what else? I said, you're going to die too. He says, what? I said, everybody dies, everybody lives, and everybody dies.
Helen Berman and John DeVos are alive in spite of cancer. They and the others who gathered at this reunion are some of the 5 million Americans who have learned they have cancer.
You know, I lost my husband last year. Oh, did you? Yeah.
And you are all, in a very special way, linked to each other by this life-changing experience which you've had. And we see this reunion as a celebration of surviving and living.
The reunion was the idea of Dr. John Durant, president of the Fox Chase Cancer Center. He noted that there has been a growing openness about this disease in the past 20 years.
We had an argument when I was in medical school that was the subject of a whole grand rounds, is whether you even told the patient that they had the disease. Back then, it was a disease you swept under the rug and didn't talk about. So it was very hard to get anybody to stand up and say, you know, I had cancer and I've made it. That was a very difficult thing to do.
I see him when we were staying here, when we came in for our surgery, what happened. We saw all the children. We would walk around, her and I.
Almost 1 million Americans got cancer last year. It's estimated that 60% of them will die within 5 years as a result of the disease.
And to realize that everyone there was facing death. And they're all alive, running around and enjoying themselves. And I think every cancer patient in the hospital should see those reunions as well, to give them hope. I mean, you think about your children. And
I think about my family.
John DeVos volunteered for experimental treatment of an extremely deadly form of cancer, cancer of the esophagus.
Diagnosis like I got. What happened?
Now cured, he believes some questions are better not asked.
I didn't say to myself when I found out I had cancer, why me? My rationale was that, well, 1 out of so many people get cancer, so who am I that I shouldn't be that one? All right, but in the same turn, when I was spared and made well, I didn't say, well, why was it me?
I think people should be able to live
Many of those who have had cancer and who have made it don't know why. Over and over again at this reunion, the question was asked, why did I survive? Why did I get cancer in the first place?
Could have been more careful than I was.
I think I have a very good handle on my life, but there are things that are out of my control, and certainly how my cells are dividing is not within my control.
Helen Berman, a biophysical chemist, was cured of cancer in one breast, then it occurred in her other breast.
I had excellent medical care, and it happens again, and it's my biology. It doesn't work the way I would like it to work. Knowing that is a kind of a relief, because it's not my fault that I have cancer. It's not my parents' fault. It's not anybody's fault. It's just something that happens. And really, it happens to a lot of people.
Most people haven't sinned in their life nutritionally and become sick are now conscious about avoiding the things that gave them cancer, myself included. And this seems to be...
There were questions about nutrition and lifestyle, even from cancer survivors who've heard it all before.
The question is, if you try to live nutritionally like you're living your life according to the Bible, are you going to be happy and unhealthy or healthy and unhappy?
I think that people have these very strange attitudes about disease, and I think Americans particularly do, that, you know, if you eat enough of the food, and if you don't step on the cracks on the sidewalk, and if you jog, and if you do this, and if you do that, somehow you will live forever. And then what happens is when the horrible thing does happen, i.e. they get cancer, then they're devastated by it because they think, gee, I didn't do enough of the right thing.
It's a more positive way that he is still alive today.
Well, what about all the wonderful, wonderful people who have died of cancer and lived very good lives, very giving lives, very positive lives, and who had all the positive thinking in the world, and they died of the cancer?
If we respond with what I call positive emotion, the abilities that you have, they somehow seem to reach this maximum of effectiveness, and good results often follow.
Tom Harper, a cancer survivor, believes in the power of positive thinking.
As a winner, belief in the power of life and belief in the power of love can give you that positive emotion, and belief in the power of life and love gives you the hope and the energy to fight.
Everything pornography together, right? Take everything together, and we
There's nothing like having been in the same foxhole or having been through some bad experience with somebody, and you both came through it, and that bonds you in some very special way, I think, and it changes your life. I suspect a lot of those people that you talk to may have told you that their lives were now better than they were because they'd been forced to face some very important questions about the meaning of their lives, and they'd sorted some important questions out. And if someone helps you do that, another patient going through it with you, you're going to bond with them in a very real way, in my opinion.
They were, how about the time that we first met when we were in the hospital?
That was horrible.
And you were sitting across from me, and I was sitting across
from you. And we didn't even look at each other.
No, and then I looked at you, and you said, you here for the same
Doris
thing?
Cottom and Helen Platt were strangers sitting in their doctor's waiting room when they both learned they had breast cancer.
When we were operated on the same day, the same morning, the same doctor, with an hour of each other, we came back to recovery. Doris was in her room, and I was in her room. My family was there, and Doris's family. Then we got together, and we saw each other every day, and we've been seeing each other since. We feel very companionable, very together, which I tell you, a lover, like a sister.
I think there was something about both of us. I think we both were frightened, and I think we took both each other for support. And our friendship has grown.
And interior. My granddaughter now is charged of art.
One goal of the reunion was that other cancer patients would see as symbols of hope survivors like Doris Cottom and Helen Platt.
Careful studies of how patients
Survivors like John DeVos,
have yielded new
like Helen
insights
Berman.
and new clues for pursuit
That they would
by
see the
scientists
rose
back
garden
in the
started at the
laboratory.
reunion with one rose
Basic
bush
research in the immune
as a
system
symbol of
has
life.
led to new and still expanding. The
Single message, I think, is that hope is very important. And, of course, we all hope to live forever, I guess. But the hope I'd like to get across is that life can be made meaningful and important almost no matter what happens to you.
Everyone look right at me. Everyone look here. As long as you can see me, you can see you.
It's a club, really. That's my feeling about it. You get to this reunion and you know, not everybody can join this organization. And, you know, it's like a veterans organization. They've gone through a war and they've survived and they're proud of it.
Doctor! Nurses! Money!
Hello, I'm Dick Van Dyke. If you're 45 to 74, I have a very serious question to ask you. Have you ever thought about the kind of suffering your spouse and loved ones may have to go through after your death? Well, there's not much you can do to prepare them for the sorrow that would follow, but there is something you can do to help prevent the financial crisis that may result. You see, most people over 45 know they need more life insurance, but the problem is it's often just too expensive to get because of your age or your health. Well, I'm pleased to tell you National Benefit Life has found a way for you to get the protection you need at a price you really can't afford. Just $3.95 a month. That's right, just $3.95 a month. It's called Security Life, a remarkable new plan that provides solid insurance protection to your family when they need it the most. For example, a 45-year-old man can get $40,000 of initial protection for just 65 cents a day. This is a life insurance plan you simply cannot be turned down for, no matter what your present health is like. Just think, big dollar benefits, low monthly premiums, guaranteed acceptance, and no agent coming to your home. You know, I've looked at a lot of life insurance plans for people our age, but I believe Security Life is one of the best around. Why don't you pick up the phone right now and call for your free information kit? It comes in the mail, tells you all you need to know about this plan. When you do, you'll find out why I'm recommending Security Life and why I bought it for myself.
To get your free information kit, call toll-free 1-800-231-8300. That's toll-free 1-800-231-8300. Call now. The information is free and so is the call. That number again is 1-800-231-8300.
Human beings have always wondered what it is that makes a human being different from other animals. Is it language? Is it the opposable thumb, which freed the human hand to make tools? Is it the larger brain, which enabled human beings to use language and invent tools? Or is it the still mysterious desire to create objects of beauty inspired by human experience? The artists who sculpted these figures lived in caves in Europe during the last ice age, 12,000 to 35,000 years ago. The objects were carved from reindeer antlers and mammoth tusks. Many are only 2 or 3 inches long. But they are exquisite in form and detail, stunning evidence that the artistic impulse is as old as our earliest ancestors. About 300 objects discovered in Europe will be on display at the American Museum of Natural History in New York through January 19th. The exhibit is called Dark Caves, Bright Visions. Most of its objects have never been seen in this country before. The tools crafted by early human beings for hunting and gathering are remarkable for the beauty of their decoration as well as for their utility. This leaping horse carved from a reindeer antler is a device invented by Paleolithic hunters to hurl spears with deadly speed and accuracy. A beautiful carved bison licking its flank, also a spear-throwing tool. Human ingenuity during the late Ice Age took many forms. This decorated lamp, made of sandstone, was found in a cave dwelling in France. Necklaces made of shells and animal teeth have been discovered in many ancient burial places. In the Ukraine, archaeologists have discovered elaborate shelters made from the bones of woolly mammoths about 15,000 years ago. In one case, the bones of 95 mammoths were used to make just one shelter. This is a reconstruction of how such a dwelling may have looked. Flutes carved from bone during this time were probably the first musical instruments, evidence that the earliest people created beautiful sounds as well as beautiful objects. But perhaps the most intriguing of all the art created during the Ice Age are the human forms, many of them female, rounded, and abstract. Goddesses, perhaps, or fertility symbols. Some of them seem hauntingly modern, these first attempts to capture the human form and spirit. You look at the art our early ancestors left behind and wonder how much like us they must have been. These people who lived in caves and made beautiful things just for the sake of beauty.
I'm Bruce Morton. 1987. We'll take a look ahead at some of the major issues facing us, both at home and abroad, on Face the Nation today.
Kevin Bacon, Laurie Singer, John Lithgow in the movie that dared America to keep its feet still. Footloose, Monday on CBS.
This is CBS. Today's computerized workplace is like a music hall before a concert. Each workstation merely a solo instrument until the conductor brings them into harmony. Introducing DFM, Conductors for Office Orchestration through Networking, IBM and N.O.W Business Systems. DFM, Networking for Efficiency and Harmony. DFM, turning solos into symphonies.
This week on Time Capsule.
Muscle industry may be a well-kept secret, but clammers along the Mississippi are fighting new government regulation and are worried about mysterious muscle kills. I'm Rob Davis. I'll have the story this week.
The Iowa Air National Guard has been in Des Moines for 45 years, but just what they do isn't exactly common knowledge. I'm John McLaughlin. The planes, the pilots, and the personnel that keep them flying this week on Time Capsule.
Join host Dave Buzik for Time Capsule, Sunday at 5:30 on TV8.
This is KCCI, TV8 in Des Moines.
This portion of Sunday Morning is sponsored by General Foods Corporation. Satisfying your family is what we're all about.
Mention decaffeinated coffee to a lot of coffee drinkers, and this can happen. To them, decaffeinated just doesn't have enough flavor, enough aroma. But now there's new Brim. It's aroma blended to give you a rich aroma, a full-bodied flavor. So for some people, it's new Brim or nothing. Brim?
Brim?
Uh-huh.
Oh.
Brim?
What do you think?
Fill it to the rim with new Brim.
I can't believe you talked me into this.
Admit it. It's just too good to resist.
You're right. So, what's it called?
Fruit and...
Forget the fiber and fruit and fiber. You're gonna love it just for the taste.
Only Fruit and Fiber has all these lush combinations, overflowing with sweet fruit, fresh, crunchy nuts, and surrounded with the highest fiber flakes.
This is the greatest.
You're gonna love it just for the taste.
Post Fruit and Fiber cereal. Tastes so good you forget the fiber.
Build me an engine that can carry me home. Light my darkness, make me smile. GE, we bring good things to life. Be there in the morning, show me all there is to see. Turn my happy moments into sweet memories. GE, we bring good things to life.
Jack Rafferty proves you just can't tell.
The fellas that I work with are pretty perceptive. They don't miss too much. No one had picked up the fact that the gray was gone from my hair. It was that simple. No one realized I was using the Grecian Formula 16. It was so gradual. The Grecian has a natural look about it. It's not a dye, it's a clear liquid. The questions most asked by the fellas at work were, what are you doing? You working out? Are you losing weight? And unless I told them I was using the Grecian Formula 16, they never would have guessed.
Grecian Formula 16. You just can't tell who's using it.
It's Sunday Morning on CBS. And here again is Charles Kuralt.
And now the story of a happy marriage of music and medicine. Faith Daniels' story about Dr. Robert Sataloff.
I jog every day. I run 2 miles a day, rain, snow, or shine. And to be able to sing long lines and conduct long concerts, you have to keep in shape. I exercise my voice every day singing scales, at least, even if I don't have time to rehearse songs.
Just because it's rock and roll doesn't mean you end when you feel like it. Okay?
Robert Sataloff is an accomplished doctor of music.
Okay? Let it swing. You sound much too much like medical students. From the top.
If they do, that's because many of them are medical students and medical professionals with the Thomas Jefferson University Hospital in Philadelphia. And the man who brought them together and leads them is Robert Sataloff, also a doctor of medicine.
Or I'll repeat what I whisper.
That's right. That was actually a choice that I had to make, whether to make music or medicine my principal career. Louder in front. Those are all the right answers. We're all finished now. One of the reasons that I elected medicine was because it allowed me to do both. I love them both. They're very challenging, very satisfying, and I couldn't imagine giving up either one of them.
That's it. Move a little.
Sataloff reasoned he couldn't be a full-time musician doing part-time surgery. So after completing his medical training and residency, he returned to school to finish his doctorate in music. For him, the combination of music and medicine is a natural.
They both involve great emotion, great expression, great sensitivity, at least at their best. Music does, medicine certainly should, even among us surgeons. They both require a great deal of discipline and practice. They both require meticulous attention to detail, and they're both rewarded with great and immediate gratification. Are you feeling comfortable? Yes. Operating on someone's ear and having the operation start with the patient deaf and 15 minutes later having the person be able to hear feels very much like 2,000 people standing up applauding. You had your cochlear implant on November 13th? Okay.
Sataloff is an otolaryngologist, an ear, nose, and throat specialist.
And say, breathe.
His expertise as a professional singer, voice coach, and choir conductor gives him unique insights into problems of the throat.
Excellent. I would rather not give you any strong medicines. They're not necessary. If you have a performance in 2 days, I can get you better. You just have a bit of the viral syndrome hanging on that's been plaguing the singers at the Academy of Vocal Arts and throughout the city. I think I gave it. Arts medicine is an important new frontier in medicine today. It's very much like sports medicine. If I'm a professional football player with 15 games to play, and I have a sore knee and somebody tells me to take a month off and not use my knee, that's a serious problem. The same thing happens in the arts, with voice, with the fingers of a string player or a pianist. Medicine is only learning today how to really evaluate and address these problems so that we treat performers with the care that they need and appropriate safety. Don't let them perform when it's truly unsafe.
It pleases me to know that he knows what kind of nerve-wracking job I have, and that he knows exactly what it takes to get out onto the stage and produce, and I know that he'll take special care of my throat.
Soprano Benita Valente of the Metropolitan Opera is one of Sataloff's star patients. By having a physician who's also a musician, she gets more than just medical advice.
Coach-like advice as to don't eat at night before you go to bed, because when you wake up in the morning you have got terrible phlegm. No one ever said this to me. I've been singing for how many years? And he said sleep in a bed that's slanted, or if you eat late at night, take something that'll coat your throat and your stomach so the food doesn't digest in your throat. But that was amazing. I'd been to all kinds of throat doctors and they didn't tell me about this. They're not sensitive to the point that he is, because he also was a singer.
Black is the color of my true love's hair.
a singer who spends as much time on his voice as he does on others.
And the daintiest hands, I love the grass whereon she stands.
Dahlia and I both have crazy hours. We are in the operating room sometimes till 10 or 11 o'clock at night.
Dahlia is his accompanist. She is also his wife and a surgeon.
We got together in order to make music together. The fact that she was a physician was really coincidental. I was looking for a pianist at the time, and we've been making music ever since.
Sataloff will make music with anyone who shows an interest. His is one chorus where no audition is required.
I realize you're already at fortissimo, but is it possible to crescendo that line?
He's not fazed by anyone claiming to be tone deaf.
I would say probably 15% of my choir are people whom I have dragged in because they told me they were tone deaf and couldn't sing. If you can tell one pitch from another, if I sing ah, ah, and ask you same or different, and you can tell me different, I can teach you to sing.
Anyone.
Anyone.
With all his love of music, this doctor of music feels that what he's accomplished as a doctor of medicine will always come first.
There are some people walking around alive in reasonably good condition who, by all odds, should not be walking around alive. And I guess I would have to count that at the top of the list.
This portion of Sunday Morning is sponsored by the Kiplinger Washington Letter.
Have you heard the good news? Experts are forecasting a strong new wave of sustained prosperity of unprecedented length and stability. Inflation will be controlled and unemployment will drop. The important question is, when will this happen and how can you prepare for it? While others wait and worry, you can profit by acting now to receive the privately circulated Kiplinger Washington Letter. For over 60 years, smart investors have relied on the Kiplinger Letter as the source for advanced facts and forecasts from the highest levels of Washington before they become news. The Kiplinger Washington Letter helps you get the jump on competition with inside updates on interest rates, housing, the stock market, plus early notice of coming legislation, tax law changes, and more. There are many fine business publications today, but you don't have time to read them all. Every Monday, the Kiplinger Letter brings you a complete, concise summary of latest predictions by top leaders in government and finance. Leaders who speak frankly to Kiplinger editors because their names are never used. Their unhedged judgments on interest rates, inflation, and investment strategies help you act and profit ahead of the crowd. Start benefiting now. Try the Kiplinger Washington Letter for 6 months, 26 issues for only $21. And get free this special report on top money-making opportunities for the rest of the 80s. It's yours free when you try the Washington Letter for 6 months, 26 issues. Phone today and you'll also get this exclusive report on the next 10 years. Learn which businesses will do best, where money market funds, stocks, and bonds are headed, and why. To receive 26 weekly issues of the Kiplinger Washington Letter, plus both copyrighted reports free, call 1-800-453-7800. Remember, you won't find the Kiplinger Letter on newsstands. It's available only by subscription. In fact, the letter is so private, its advance information so privileged that quotes from the Kiplinger Letter are never permitted. So don't miss out. Phone now with this money-back guarantee. If you don't make or save many times for $21, you keep both reports free and receive a prompt refund on all unmailed issues. Can anything be fairer than that? Call 1-800-453-7800.
Ray Brady joins us now. Without beating around the bush, you want to just come right out with an economic forecast for 1987?
We get right to it this time. All right. Well, it looks like it's going to be a very, very slow economy for the first 6 months of the year, Charles. I mean, that's sort of grim news because the American consumer is kind of tapped out. All those people bought all those automobiles because of low interest rates and to beat the change in the tax laws. So they're not going to have a lot of money to spend in the first half. And that, of course, is one of the things that makes this economy go round. Secondly, again, because of changes in the tax laws, a lot of corporations aren't going to be spending, and construction looks like it's going to be pretty flat because we've got too many office buildings already. So you've got to say that the outlook for the first half of the year is not very good at all.
All right. Is that, do you limit it to 6 months just because your vision is only 6 months long, or do you do you have some reason for thinking there'll be an upturn in the second half of the year?
Well, you see, a lot of people are getting a tax cut this year, and right now people don't know what quite to make of it. They don't know where they stand money-wise.
Have you seen that new W-4 form?
Yeah, I took one look at it and I called my accountant and screamed for help. But that again is one of the things. That W-4 form is so complicated that people don't know exactly where they stand right now and how much they're going to have to spend or how much is going to be taken out of their checks. So you're going to see a slowness because of that, plus the fact that they've spent all this money. But then by the second half, people should start, a lot of Americans anyway, should start feeling the effects of lower tax rates. They'll have more money to spend. There's also some hope that Japan, Germany will start making their economies go faster, and this will help pick up our business. You see, one of the things that has been hurting us is that they have been going very, very slowly in trying to expand their economies because they're afraid of inflation coming back. Now, if they expand in the second half, that will help us. If they don't, well, then you keep your fingers crossed and say, well, at least we know definitely a very slow first half of the year, maybe even near a recession. It's not bright right now.
There are some big black clouds on the horizon. We sort of forgot them for the holidays, but this country is running a terrible deficit still, and President Reagan's coming out with his budget this week, calls for just what you'd expect, more cuts in domestic programs, more money for the military. Isn't that deficit something the country is finally going to have to deal with if we're going to avoid a recession?
Yes, well, it won't help us avoid a recession right now, but you know, the trouble with the deficit is it's sort of like getting AIDS. You know, you go for years and you don't know you have it, and then all of a sudden, bang, you're starting to die. And as people don't see the effects of the deficit really hitting now, they begin to overlook it. And on Wall Street, I think, to a large extent, they're overlooking it. I think the legislators are overlooking it to a certain extent, too. But in the meantime, it's there. It is sapping the country. $17 billion every year goes out of this country to pay interest to foreigners on our national debt. That's a lot of money leaving the country every year. It's a thing like that that nobody thinks about. And what we're really saying is we're just pushing this problem out to perhaps succeeding generations.
Well, speaking of sapping the country and all that, this trade imbalance is also a serious problem, isn't it? And everybody said 3 or 4 months ago, well, it's getting better. Turns out November was the worst month in history as far as the trade imbalance goes.
That's right, a record-breaking more than $19 billion out. Part of that is coming from the fact that there are going to be user fees put on some imports coming in. People are trying to beat that. I think the Japanese knew a lot of Americans would be buying cars to beat the tax thing. They were shoving cars in at a pretty good rate. But the fact remains that the United States still is not competitive. We really don't have our house in order. And if you look, we aren't coming up with new products. We're not coming up with better products. We really are not in the world ball game.
That's the heart of the problem, isn't it? People just don't want to buy what we have to sell.
It really is. I mean, you can talk all you want about the drop in the dollar and foreign wage rates and all that sort of thing, but the basic problem is that if you look at certain products, they are better made abroad, and we are not really coming up with new ideas, new products that everybody would want, and that really is the core of the problem, I think.
All right. We have 30 seconds in which you can tell investors whether they should leave their money in the stock market or put it in something safer now.
A lot of money is pouring into the stock market because there's so much money around, and a lot of the Japanese...
People don't know what to do with it. The interest rates are low.
Exactly, and that's why this stock market going up is a very deceptive thing, because it's really money with no place else to go, not because the economy is better or anything. And about the only thing that looks at all certain, certain stocks where they're going to spend, like pollution control, they may be okay. But for now, I would wait for a month or two and see exactly what's going to happen before I committed more money.
You have heard it, America. Oh, thank you, Ray.
Introducing the unbelievable American under $7,800, the Plymouth Sundance Series.
The pride is back.
Plymouth Sundance, the best value of any car in its class, including the imports. 47 standard features to convince you, 5-year or 50,000-mile protection plan to assure you. Plymouth Sundance, the unbelievable American under $7,800.
The pride is back. Born in America again.
When the tight, aching stiffness of minor arthritis pain gets a hold of you, you need strong relief. You need the warming power of Bengay. Rub in Bengay and feel its soothing, penetrating warmth, helping to increase circulation and starting to relieve pain fast, right where it hurts most. When arthritis pain gets a hold of you, break the grip of pain with Bengay.
Mention decaffeinated coffee to a lot of coffee drinkers, and this can happen. To them, decaffeinated just doesn't have enough flavor, enough aroma. But now there's new Brim. It's aroma blended to give you a rich aroma, a full-body flavor. So for some people, it's new Brim or nothing. Brim?
Brim?
Uh-huh. Brim?
What do you think?
Fill it to the rim with new Brim.
Say, these must be Jack's new Canon personal copiers. Great color.
Yeah, and they copy in 5. You want to see?
Go ahead. Make my day.
Everything you need to copy with is in this replaceable cartridge.
I'll do that.
Good thing Canon has PCs for every personality, even pushy agents.
Lighten up, Jack.
These new Canon personal copiers are light. Put one in my car.
What a guy.
Personal copiers for every personality. For information, call toll-free 1-800-OK-CANON.
A final look at the headlines. Investigators of the fire that killed so many people in San Juan, the figure is now 96, say they will announce preliminary findings today. The governor of Puerto Rico is quoted as saying that criminal action is involved. Israeli helicopter gunships attacked houses in southern Lebanon today, thought to belong to terrorist groups, including a radical Shiite Muslim group. President Reagan checked into the Bethesda Naval Hospital this morning for prostate surgery later in the week. As he left the White House for the hospital, the president told reporters he felt fine. On the rocky coast of California, there's a bit of beach named by the early Spanish mariners Año Nuevo, New Year. It's there that we'll leave you on the first Sunday morning of this Año Nuevo. This is a place where young male sea elephants divide their time between the land and the sea, resting at New Year's in New Year's Cove, and occasionally practicing their jousting techniques in preparation for the mating season coming in the spring. Feliz Año Nuevo. I'm Charles Kuralt. I hope you'll join us here again next Sunday morning.
This is Bruce Morton. 1987. We'll take a look ahead at the issues facing us, both at home and abroad, on Face the Nation today.
This afternoon, the playoff action starts with the NFL today. Then it's Joe Montana, whose season seemed over, but he returned and rallied the 49ers to a playoff collision with the not-so-gentle Giants of New York, a red-hot team that knows how to cool off. The 49ers battle the Giants today on CBS Sports.
Americans, we like straight talk. We want hard facts. We demand the truth. We know who we are. And when it comes to news, we know who we trust. Dan Rather, weeknights on the CBS Evening News. We keep America on top of the world.
This is CBS. A wise man believes only in lies.
Chair braced firmly under the doorknob is quite the best deterrent.
Trusts only in the absurd.
Look at you. You're enjoying this, aren't you?
And learns to expect the unexpected.
Yes,